Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me this evening is a phenomenal woman that I recently had the opportunity to connect with across social media lines. She is a speaker, she's an author, she's a coach, but most importantly, she's a woman of God, and she's taking time out of her very busy schedule to hang out with us for a little while to share a little bit of her journey, a little bit of her story, with the hopes of inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting those who are tuning in, especially to dealing with the challenges and storms of life as we all have to deal with in some fashion or form. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our special guest this evening, Miss Catherine Mitchell. Catherine, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It is definitely, truly an honor to just be able to come up on your show and to help someone else who may be struggling in life. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. That and again, I'm excited about this, and I know you're going to be a blessing to both me and my listeners. So, been really time together. So, but before we jump into our segments, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit of backdrop about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Kind of give our audience a taste of who is Catherine Mitchell.
Ooh, okay, I would love to do that. Let me get started. So first, I am Catherine B. Mitchell. I'm known as the one and only Catherine B. Mitchell. I am a transformational speaker and coach. I'm an author, four-time best-selling author, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I'm a mother and I'm a grandmother as well. And I'm just known for providing good services and healing towards women and young girls who have been struggling with that issue. That's my expertise, that issues.
Oh wow, wow, that is really good stuff, and definitely something that's very much needed in this world today. So it's good to hear that someone like yourself is embracing your purpose and doing your thing and pouring into the lives of others, both adult and young ladies. So that's a great thing, great work. So awesome, awesome. All right. Well, I'm not going to hold us up any longer. We're going to jump right into this and learn a little bit more about you. So, anytime I bring people on the show, I really like to take a few moments to reflect back on the beginnings of where it all starts because, a lot of our journey, a lot of our ultimate purpose in life, there's a connection, I believe, between what we're doing in today's time versus, maybe some encounters that happened earlier on in life, some incidents that took place early on in life, people that we met, etc., that we might have not made a big deal about it at the time. We may not have been able to connect the dots, but I think as you get older and you learn, learn things and have more life experiences, you begin to, say to yourself, why this particular situation happened, or this is why I had to be in this particular moment at this particular time. I didn't get it at that, back then, but now it's starting to all make sense. So with that said, I do want to take that time out with you and go back to those beginnings of your journey, far back as your early days in childhood. And if you would just kind of share with us, what was it like for you growing up? Fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there's any particular challenges that come to mind, you can share that as well. Kind of give us the backdrop of where your story begins.
Oh wow. I was born in sunny South Dallas. If you know anything about Texas, that's the hood. My mother was a single mother, um, and I have two sisters, and I'm the youngest of all three of our excuse me of her daughters. And it was rough. It was a neighborhood that where you saw drugs, you saw prostitutes, you saw violence, gun violence, gang, everything that you can name. I saw it growing up in my neighborhood, and I didn't have a father, and that's where my journey began. Um, just looking for love in all the wrong places. My mother was never home. She worked and she went to school. So basically, I was always home alone as the youngest because my oldest sisters, they were always in the streets. So I pretty much raised myself. Um, I pretty much raised myself due to the fact that my mother had to be a single mother and my daddy was not there. I didn't have no father figure, no one to look up to, no one to replace my father for that matter. So I end up, looking for love in the streets. Hanging out with older people that I didn't have any business hanging out with at the age of 9 and 10. I was young. and I was in them streets hanging with older people that I didn't have any business. When I mean any business at 9, I didn't have a business hanging with grown folks or teenagers at the age of 9. But because I was always at home, my mama wasn't there, my sister wasn't there. Who else I'm going to associate with? Who else I'm going to talk to? And that just led me to just, you know, having sex at an early age. I must say that. Um, Let me rewind back. I was raped and molested first. Um, I was molested by my uncle from the age of 5 to 13. Um, and then I was raped at 16. I was raped at 16, just being out in the streets as a young girl. Again, I didn't have any business, but what else I'm gonna do? My mother ain't at home, my sisters ain't at home. I'm always home alone. So as a curious child, you want to get out in the streets, you want to see what's going on, and you want to interact with people. So that's where you go, to the streets. They say that's what love is. The streets will love you better than your family would. So that's what I went to, the streets. Um, and, like I said, my uncle molested me, and that just broke me because my uncle was someone who I looked up to. That's my mother's youngest brother, and I will always look up to him because he was the favorite uncle out of all the uncles. I only had two uncles, so he was a favorite one because I saw him more than I saw my mother's other brother, and because my cousin, which is my uncle's son, we're like 7 months apart, so we pretty much grew up together, and people thought we was twins growing up. I always visit their house more than anybody else's house, my other uncle's house. So that's how that began of start being touched on at a very early age. And that broke me. So I lost trust. I didn't trust anybody. Couldn't even trust my mother because she was never home. And then once I opened that door at the age of 13 to express what has been happened to me, there was nothing done about it. And so that just broke me. The system broke me because at 13, I reported it. Because at this time I was tired. I'm old enough. I feel like I'm grown. I can speak my mind. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm not hiding this anymore. And I spoke up about it, made a report. They didn't take him to jail, but they did set a court date. Okay. And I went to court by myself at 13. Believe me or not, I rode the bus. I found out when was my court day. I did all of that by myself. My mother, my sisters, my aunts, like nobody. I'm grown already because I had to figure this thing out on my own. I had to take care of my business my own at 13. My mom didn't go to court with me. Could you imagine a 13-year-old girl going to court by herself? To a huge building with all these strange people. You have no idea what's going on, but you know that you had a court day. You know that this is something that you're trying to prevent from happening later on down the line with other family members, because I don't know how long this has been happening or been going on. So I wanted to put a stop to it. So I had to take the initiative to go to court by myself. Went to court, and all I remember, this lady, uh, she called my name and she said that it has been reset. I'm 13, so I didn't know what that means. So I had to pull the lady to the side and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "What does that mean?" Because I didn't know. I'm 13. And she said, "I'm sorry." She said, "Well, that means that we will have to give you another court date." So I said, "Well, why?" I'm asking why, what happened. And she said, "I don't know. I'm not sure, but that's what the judge said, that your court date has been, rescheduled. So we'll send you another date in the mail for your next court date." So I waited. I waited. I waited. I waited. Never got a court date. I checked the mailbox every single day because I wanted something to be done because this was not right. I knew it wasn't right. And I never got a court date. And later on in life, and I didn't know what to do at that point. So I called and I said, "I'm calling to see about a court date." I had this court date. I still had my old paper. I gave them the number, information that was on the paper. And I just heard the guy say, "I'm sorry, man, but we don't have a court date for you." So at this point, I'm like, "Excuse me?" Like, huh? I'm looking at my old paper and I said, "Well, this was my previous court date and information I provided to him." And he said, "I'm sorry, but I don't find anything on file with your name or anything of that nature, a report of
Mm.
anything." So that's when my life began to spiral down because you got to think about no father. You've been molested by your uncle, somebody you trust, and then you didn't even get judgment. You didn't even get justice. I mean, not judgment, but you didn't even get justice. And then not only that, but you didn't have nobody to support you, and you carrying all this weight as a young girl, a teenager, and that was my life. It started spiraling down then. And I really got into the streets. I started selling drugs. I started stealing. I started boosting clothes. I was just out there. And I'm telling the honest God, true God, so help my soul. I'm just telling the honest God truth. Because at this point, like the system failed me. My mother failed me to protect me. My uncle broke me because he broke my trust. My sister, she's a teenager herself. So, like, what can she do? She didn't even know what to do. And my other sister, she was deaf and parent. So there was not much she can do because she couldn't even talk or hear. And I just started getting into them streets really bad. And then I got pregnant with my son. And I found out after I got pregnant with my son, what happened was it came to my sense one day after giving birth to my son that my uncle's wife worked for the police department. So my spirit man said, hmm, she got connections. So that's why they couldn't find no record of your incident report. That's why they couldn't find a court date because her connections in the sheriff department. So what am I supposed to do? At this point, I'm 21, 21 years old. I can't do nothing. Well, I thought I couldn't do nothing. So then I got pregnant again. I had my daughter and got pregnant again. Those relationship didn't work. So I got pregnant again with my youngest daughter. And that relationship just really broke me because I didn't know what love looks like. I didn't trust anybody. I was looking for love. I was a single mother. I was desperate, looking for love. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted some attention. I wanted somebody to care about me, and I felt as though I didn't have anybody to care about me. So I thought that he cared. I thought that's what it was supposed to look like. I didn't know. And he ended up abusing me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and sexually. He did it all. He did it all to the point to where I I didn't even want to live anymore. He did so much to me. Um, this particular day, after giving birth to my daughter 2 weeks. I'm gonna tell this piece of my story because when someone say they're going to kill you, you must believe them. It's not a joke, like seriously. But I didn't take it serious. I just gave birth to his baby, and so this particular day, 2 weeks after giving birth to her, I went to go hang out with my family. But my mom wasn't at home, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna get out the house. I'm happy. I want to show my baby out to my family, my friends, and I did. And then when I got back, all hell broke loose. And he said that he in his mind he think that I went to go see another man and to take his kids to go be around another man. So him thinking that's where I was. That's what I was doing because instead of me seeing my mom wasn't there. So I went to go visit my best friend. I didn't want to go home because I already knew, you know, I didn't want to be around him at that point because I was tired. I already knew it was not going to be a good day. And I might as well should have stayed because when I got back, all hell broke loose. He started accusing me of being around another man, having his kids around another man. Um, he said I didn't care about him. and I left him to die because he was sick that morning. And he was sick. Don't get me wrong, he was sick, but I looked at it. If you came in at home at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, you couldn't possibly be that sick. I'm thinking this will wear off, by the end of the day. Maybe it was a hangover, and I did assist him before I left that day. And so I just remember him. When I walked in, he told me to shut the door. And my other kids was in the next room, my two oldest, and I had my baby girl in my hand. And he said, close the door. And I was already scared because I know him. And he said, put her in her bed. And I said, why? He said, just do what I tell you to do. And I said, no. I said, why? And he said, just do what the F I tell you to do. And so at this point, I'm thinking about my daughter. I didn't want to bring harm to her, so I didn't want us to try to tussle while I'm carrying her because she's 2 weeks. So I said, well, let me just put her in a bed. And I put her in a bed, and right as soon as I put her in a bed, he just grabbed me, threw me to the bed, and just started punching me in my face, just punching me, calling me names, saying I'm a liar, I'm a cheater, this and this and that. He was just saying all types of stuff to me. And then he picked me up off the bed, and then he threw me to the wall by my neck, and my feet was like literally off the floor. And he had me in. He hit when I hit the wall, like my head just bounced back just like this. And he had me by the neck, and he was just choking me, and I couldn't even breathe. And I kept saying, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And you would think that he would have some type of care, but the look in his eyes was so devilish, like they start turning colors. And he got eyes like you, but they start turning colors. And I just kept saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And he was saying he didn't care. He was saying, MF, I'm gonna kill you. You didn't care about me. You left me on the floor to die. And if when I kill you, ain't nobody gonna find you. And he was just saying all of these things. And in that moment, I just didn't know what to do. And I just knew that that was probably going to be my last day seeing my kids and holding my baby. And that's when he picked up his guns. He had two guns. He had a Smith and Western, and he had I forgot what the other one was. I think it was a Magnum or something, a 9 Magnum or something like that. I can't remember. And he grabbed the Smith and Western gun. That's the one his grandfather gave him. And I remember after he let me go, he threw me down to the bed and I fell. And when he got the guns, that's when he put it to my head. And I was just crying. I was just crying because I knew I was going to die. And I was thinking about my kids who was in the next room. Like they hear everything, they know what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the last memory of my kids. Remember that we went out, we had a good time, and came back home, and my mother was dead. And they heard everything. I was thinking all of those thoughts. And they're gonna be traumatized forever. Then I start thinking like who is gonna raise my kids? Nobody's gonna love my kids the way that I do. No one is gonna take care of them the way that I do. And all those thoughts were just going through my mind. And I just remembered that he pulled the trigger, but it didn't go off. And so I'm thinking maybe he was playing Russian roulette with my life. And he said, "Ooh, B, you lucky." So he looked at it. The bullets was in it, but it didn't go off. So then he
Mm.
flipped it again and put it back to my head, and he pulled it again, and it didn't go out. So he got so mad, he threw that gun down, picked up the other one, and he pulled it to my head, and he pulled the trigger. And I knew I was dead. I really did because I remember just like hearing the clicks. I just remember hearing the clicks, and it did not go off. Both guns got jammed that day. I promise to God, they
Mm.
both guns got jammed for whatever reason. He got so upset and he left out. And I just remember crying after he left. And I went to go get my kids and I just grabbed them and I was just hugging them because I knew I was dead. I thought I was dead. And I grabbed my youngest daughter and I was just holding her and just kissing my kids because my life was at stake in that moment. And this is somebody who I love. This is someone I thought loved me, who told me he loved me, but that was not an action of someone who loved me. And my best friend, she came to my rescue and she called the police. And she came, she got the gun, she took them away, and she got rid of them. I didn't care what she did with them, but she got rid of them. And the police stayed for a while. They took pictures of my neck because I had bruises on my neck. I had bruises on my face. So I couldn't even deny and say he didn't hit me or he didn't do anything because bruises don't lie. And so when he got back, because he came back and they took him to jail. And so he went to jail. And of course, um, he called and of course he apologized. And of course, I let him come back. I let him come back. And that cycle just repeatedly, kept going consistently every day to where I was walking on eggshells. I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next day. That's how I was living, like life on the edge. I didn't know if I was going to wake up. I didn't know if he's going to kill me in my sleep. I didn't know I was on eggshells all day, every day. Um, he didn't allow me to work. He said because he didn't want his daughter going to daycare. That was his excuse. He didn't give me money, so I didn't have money. I did depend on him financially. I was receiving government assistance for food, so those things he didn't have to really cover unless, to the end of the month. Of course, they don't last long, but he did take care of some things that I couldn't take care of my own at that time because he didn't allow me to work. And um, he would sexually abuse me. He would sexually make me do things I didn't want to do. And then I started using drugs. I found out that he was using drugs, and I started using drugs with him to numb the pain. Well, I thought it was going to numb the pain. And I thought maybe if I interact with him with what he was doing, then maybe it would lessen the abuse. That's what I thought. Stupid of me. Like I ain't never did drugs before. Like the only thing I've ever done was smoke weed growing up. That was it. But this was you know, that other stuff, the white stuff. I don't know if I can say that, but that was the stuff, the what they call it, girl or boy, whatever, something like that. That's what it was that I found out he was doing. And that's how I will cope every day with that, every day to numb the pain. Um, so when it hit me, I wouldn't feel the pain. Um, and then I started smoking Black and Miles, and it was just not who I was. And it was just repeatedly happening all the time. And mentally, it was draining. Mentally, I was tired. Emotionally, I was just tired of just getting just jumped on every day for every little thing, anything. I don't care what it is. If I looked at another person in the car while we was driving, I got beat up for that. I couldn't even look at another man. I couldn't even laugh at another man. I couldn't even give another man a compliment. I couldn't even be around his own brothers. That's how jealous he was of his own brothers. Then he got jealous of his own sisters and accused me of wanting to be with his sisters. It just got so bad. I thought that it would change, but it didn't change. He didn't change ever. And so eventually in 2000 and in 2012, um, our landlord, um, he was accusing me of the landlord because the landlord never wanted to talk to him. He always wanted to talk to me. And because he was ignorant and stupid, he didn't want to do that. And because he saw that we had kids, because he could have, just asked us to leave pretty much because he was rude to him a lot of times and he was disrespectful. But he didn't, so he will always want to talk to me. And he was accusing me of sleeping with the landlord. So I would get beat up consistently by that all the time. While my kids were at school, he would abuse me. I couldn't wait till my kids get home because I felt loved by my kids. But when they weren't at home, that's when abuse would happen, and it would be so bad to where um, when my kids came home, I would be locked up in a room. I couldn't even come out the room because I would have black eyes and bruises, and he didn't want them to see that. So he would tell the kids that I was sick, I wasn't feeling well, so don't bother your mother. So he would bring me my food, or he would have them, if it was a snack, he would have them push it up under the door. That's how I communicate with my kids, like through the door. And then when his family come over, he would tell them the same way. My family didn't even come over. My friends didn't even come over because he intervened. Like he annihilated me from my friends and my family pretty much. The only family that I saw was his family, when they came over, and I kind of felt they knew something wasn't right because this was like all the time I would be locked in the room and he would tell them that I was sick or I wasn't feeling well. And then in 2013, um, the Lord spoke to me, and we had moved into another house because at that time I was just tired of him accusing of this landlord. So I figured that if we moved somewhere else, I wouldn't have to worry about that. So we end up moving to another house. And I just remember, well, let me rewind back. He proposed to me before we moved to the new house. And I did say yes. Um, because I was listening to my best friend. She was like, well, maybe if you marry him, maybe he wouldn't act that way. So I said yes. But then God started speaking to me. Like in that moment, that's the first time I can say I've heard God's voice. And I remember God said, I know you said yes. He said, but I want you to ask him this, this, and this, and this, and that. And he said, and I guarantee you, he's going to give you these answers. And he was telling me exactly what he said he was going to say. And he said, when he answered that exact way, he said, I'm telling you now, do not marry him.
Mm.
And I did. And so I asked him these questions one day in a room, and he answered exactly how the Holy Spirit said he would answer. And that just brought back to what the Holy Spirit said to me, said, do not marry him. He was not the one for me. And I knew that already, but I figured that if I marry him, then maybe he wouldn't be so jealous. Maybe he wouldn't be so controlling. Maybe it would stop. Maybe he would feel a little bit more confident. And so we set a wedding date, a wedding plan. We did all of that. And he bought me a nice ring. And we was planning to get married. And then I just remember I kept pushing the date back because I'm thinking about what I heard the Holy Spirit tell me. So I would tell him, well, I want to wait because I want to get this type of dress, or I want to wait because I want to do this. I was just making up excuses from this day moving forward. And then when we did move, well, before we moved, I'm glad that I did marry him because he ended up trying to put me into a mental health facility, because I did try to commit suicide a few times because I was tired, and I was took myself to the point to where mentally I'm not going to allow anybody to take my life. I'm going to take my own life. And I was in the hospital, in the mental hospital, and I remember the lady told me, she said, she was asking me these different questions, and she said she had called him, and she said, I asked him, did he think that you was dangerous to yourself, to your family, and do he think that you're capable to come home and be okay? And she said he told her he's scared of me. He was scared of me. He was scared for his life, and no, he didn't think that I was capable to come home, to be with my family because he was scared that I was going to do something to my kids. So that is so funny, so hilarious. So she asked him, She said, "Well, are y'all married?" Thank God. When I say God is good, God is so good. She said, "Well, are
Mhm.
y'all married?" And then he said, "Well, no." And she said, "Well, you don't have that right because the only person that have that right, is her husband. And since you're not married, then we need a next of kin." So then, luckily, and I'm surprised, he gave her my mom's number. And because of my mom, I'm here because my mom said, "No, there's nothing wrong with my daughter." You know, I don't know what's going on, but my daughter is perfectly fine. Um, and that's how I end up coming home. My mom came and got me, and I just told her everything because my mama didn't know, my family didn't know because I hid it, and because he didn't allow me to go around my family, they didn't know. So we end up moving, and again, the Holy Spirit come to me, and I just remember praying too. I failed to mention those a lot of times during the times I was going through. I was praying to God, and I remember talking to God. I said, "God, I was tired. I didn't want to do those drugs anymore. I was only doing so that I can, you know, um, so that I can, work through being abused. I was coping with drugs. I was coping with black and mouse. I wasn't smoking weed, but I was smoking black and mouse, and we was doing the drugs. And God allowed me to get sick once we moved into the new house. And I didn't even have the energy or the taste to even do it. And while I was sick, he was still trying to give me the drugs. Can't you believe that? He was still trying to give me the drugs. And I kept saying, "I don't want it. I don't want it." And then I heard God say, "It's time for you to build your confidence." He said, "I'm giving you the strength now while I was sick." He said, "I'm giving you the strength now and the courage now to walk away." And I remember just listening, and I heard the Spirit plain and clear. And he repeated again, "This is your time now." And I remember I made those bold steps. And I remember I stopped coming home because I eventually found a job. He allowed me to work. And I remember I stopped coming straight home because he would time me where I was. As soon as I left the job, he knew exactly what time I should have made it home, even through traffic. And I stopped doing all of those things. I stopped sleeping in the bed with him. I started sleeping on the couch. And then he was still trying to control and say, "What are you doing? What are the kids are going to think?" So he started thinking I was cheating. At this point, I didn't care no more. I really stood on what God told me to do is being bold, having the courage, having that faith in God. And I did exactly what God told me to do. I did not budge.
Hmm.
I stood on business. And he did not like that to the point to where he was telling the kids I was cheating. Um, I didn't want them. I didn't care about them. He was just making up stuff at this point. It got so bad that he didn't like it, that he didn't have control anymore, that he ended up saying, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let you be happy." He said, "I'm going to leave." And my eyes just got real big. I knew that was God. It couldn't be
Mhm.
nobody but God because who abuser would say, "I'm going to leave. You can stay. I'm leaving, packing my bags, and I'm going to let you be happy." And he packed his bags one day while I was at work, and he left. And my kids called me and said, "Mama, he gone. He packed all his stuff and he said he leaving because you cheating and this and this and this and that." And I said, "Okay. When he leave, lock the door." That's all I told my kids. And ever since 2013, I have been elevating. I have been the best person that I can ever be ever since 2013. This was August 2013. I've been who I've grown, I've healed, I've worked. It's a working process. Even after leaving the abuse, you still have to work on yourself. You still have to heal. There's still a process. Those are still steps in order to be who God calls you to be, in order to see yourself as better than what that person has told you and has put all those negative thoughts in your mind. It was a blessing. I heard the voice of God, and I would never take that away from God because without God, I would not be here. If I hadn't heard his voice And if I would have just kept being in fear because I was in fear of my life and mentally disturbed and mentally discouraged, but God's voice was so strong and I heard it so plain, so loudly, I could not resist his voice. And I'm here because of God. He saved me. He saved me. He saved my children. And this is why I do what I do.
Wow. Let me let me first start off by saying I truly do appreciate your transparency, your vulnerability, and sharing you've shared to this extent. You know, where do you begin with something like this? Like you said, from the very beginning in very early years, just that whole feeling of not being able to rely upon anyone, not feeling loved, just kind of feeling like you're out there on your own, not having anybody to stand in the gap for you, to represent you, to defend you, to look out for you. I can only imagine what that must have felt like, to be mistreated and abused by people who you cared for, who you thought cared for you, and to give chances over and over and over again, and not to see the same, and only to see the same things happen repeatedly. That would have broken just about anybody. But to what you just said as you were concluding your story is the fact that this was nothing but God.
Yeah.
Of all of the people in life, family, friends, strangers, or otherwise, who have failed you. And I don't know if you caught the title of our show tonight.
Hmm.
He's never failed me.
It never
How
fails.
appropriate for your story,
Yeah.
because only he could have stepped in a situation like this,
Yeah.
um, stepped in to not only allow you to be able to withstand and endure everything that you've been through, but
Oof.
then in the end for it to, it's almost like you couldn't have even scripted it better, to where the very one who's been been mostly abusive to you in every fashion and form, mentally, like you said, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, decides, that, what, I'm just going to leave, I'm just going to let you be happy and be up out of here. And all it took, after all of this time, all it took was for you to have the courage to stand
Hmm.
up for yourself, but more importantly, standing up for yourself because you were operating in obedience to what God was telling you, that you were trusting when he
Yes.
said to you that I got your back. I know
Yes.
that this has been hard. This has been traumatic.
Yes.
I know you may be questioning even where was I at,
Yeah.
in that moment. But I'm letting you know that I've been here all along,
Yeah.
and that there is going to be an exit out of this, and you're going to still be standing. You're
Yes.
going you're going to still be able to overcome this. And so this is just for anybody that's tuning in, who don't really understand the true power, the true essence of who God is and what unconditional love looks like.
Mm.
Um, this is what it is. And again, I know many will listen to a story like this and be like, well, if God was so great, if he was so awesome, if he was so wonderful, why would he let her go through this?
Right.
And those are very valid questions. I mean, anytime we go through storms in life and challenges, especially to this extreme,
Whew.
you it's within understanding, if you will, for you. And I'm sure you had those questions. There were times in the midst of you praying, you were probably
Oof.
also saying, well, Lord, what did I do something wrong? Did I bring this on myself? I mean, why? And that's why I say I like to have that conversation about how it all starts, because I'm sure it didn't make sense at the time, but then when you think about the work that you're doing now, I can only imagine how relatable
Mm.
you must be to the women that you speak to, because you
Mhm.
have a story that lets them know right out the gate, you know what, I've been through some stuff.
Mhm.
Probably a lot of the women that you're talking to, whether they're grown or young, probably been through more stuff than most of them have. But it required somebody that had to go through that storm, that had to take it on, in order for you to be prepared for the work that you're ultimately doing right now. And that's things that that I've had to learn and that I've heard, over my years is just that, what we need to understand about storms is that a lot of times the storm isn't even about us.
It's not.
It wasn't, it had nothing, in other words, it had nothing to do with you having done something wrong. It was
No.
never about you being a bad person, a
No.
bad mom, a bad, partner, a bad girlfriend, a bad, it was never about that.
No.
It was that God saw fit to identify you as
Mhm.
being the one that was going to bear, not because he was picking on you, not because he didn't love you, but he said, I got to work for you years down the road that you have no idea about. But in
Yeah.
order for you to operate effectively in the work, in
Yeah.
the purpose that I have for your life, I'm going to have to take you through some stuff. And it's going
Ooh.
to be uncomfortable. It's
Yes.
going to be inconvenient. You're going to
Yes.
feel like you're going to have moments in time where you're going to feel like you want to give up. But I'm going to
Yes.
be with you the whole way.
Yes.
No worries. Just continue to lean on me. And you did that by and we know that you did that by way of saying that I continue in spite of everything that was going on. I kept praying to God. I kept talking to him. I kept, even when things just seemed out of control and chaotic and just wild beyond our imagination, I still kept in communication with him. I maintained at least a mustard seed of faith that he had not, forsaken me.
I did.
And look, and in the end, look how it plays out.
Yeah.
You sitting here today, like I said, in your right mind.
Yes.
You're sitting here today, with a spirit of love and caring. You're still standing here
Yeah.
today, just being able to operate in your purpose that God had already predestined for you from the moment you came out the womb. You didn't know, but
Yeah.
but here you are.
I
And
am.
this was not an accident at all. It all played out exactly the way it was supposed to play out. And I'm just thankful, as I'm sure you're thankful every day, that you are able to just even be here to even
Yeah.
tell the story.
I am because some
The
some
people that you are blessing. Yeah, this is just very powerful story. One of the most powerful stories I've heard, in all the time that I've been doing this. And again, I appreciate your transparency and sharing as you have, because this is, even though it's like you said, that turning point time was back in 2013. We're talking about 12 years ago,
yeah.
but it's still, even as you were sharing the story, it's still a hard story to tell.
Yeah.
But it's a story that people need to hear, because unfortunately there are other women who are going through similar abusive situations, women who have given chance after chance after chance, hoping for a different outcome, hoping that if I just start doing this, or
Mhm.
maybe if I dress this way, maybe if I cook this meal, maybe if I do this, that it'll be different. It'll be, and so your message is about understanding the importance of, one, understanding who you come from, understanding you come from a line of royalty. You come
Yes, sir.
from you were created by a king.
Yes.
You that, which means that you princess, and one day you
Yes.
grew up to be a queen of your own.
Yes.
So you have value, you have worth.
Yes.
And yeah, there weren't people around that needed to be around to tell you that. But if nobody else, if I should say, if anybody else fails you, understand that he will never fail you. And
You
as long
won't.
as you know that, as long as even though you might not have the crowd of cheerleaders and people rallying behind you to say that you're beautiful, you're special, you're important, you matter, there's value in you, know that he always is that. He created you that way. He knew it from the very beginning, and he's never left your side. So
Mm.
I appreciate your strength. I appreciate your fortitude. I appreciate your drive to take what was otherwise a painful season of your
Mm.
life to now try to bless other women
Mhm.
who don't who also don't see a way out, who also don't know what they're gonna do. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine the lives that you have already have changed, and the lives that you'll continue to change because of the divine platform that God has that put you on, to
Yes.
be able to pour into the lives of other women in this regard. So I thank you Thank you for your again your sharing transparently and your vulnerability and just your authenticity in doing so. I mean, this is powerful stuff, and this is a conversation that, although it's an uncomfortable one to talk about, domestic abuse, and the like. I mean, this is a very real thing that goes on, and in some instances it even happens to men, but primarily, of course, we typically unfortunately see women that are the victims of this. And so
Hmm.
again, I appreciate you speaking on it as you have. So with that said, Catherine, when I, obviously, um, when we deal with storms in life, there's going to be heaviness in these storms, similar to some of the things that you've talked about. But then sometimes the storms are much more milder level, that just life and type day to day type stuff. Um, what I'm curious to know from you is, when you do find yourself facing storms now that you've been through what you've been through and you're at this point in life that you are at, again, whether it's something major or just, again, minor everyday normal, what is it that you personally like to do that works best for you as you try to process through challenging times in your life? Like, what does that look like for you whenever you are having one of those days?
Um, I always call on God first because He brought me out of a terrible situation that I didn't see no way out. So
Okay.
I make sure that I meditate, I pray, and I talk to God. And I've learned to acknowledge my pain. I learned to accept and embrace my pain or my challenges that I'm facing in that moment, and then I make a strategy plan to strategize of how to overcome that plan. And exercise is one of them. That's a good way to relieve stress. It's exercise. If anybody has never exercised and are stressing, I guarantee you, if you just go for a walk, maybe 5 minutes a day, I guarantee you that stress level will be down. If you meditate 5 minutes a day, I love to meditate. I can meditate as long as 30 minutes now because I've meditated for so long. But I worked my way up to that. I meditate, I exercise. I'm learning to um, show gratitude to myself, and self-care. That's, to me, that's self-care. I know a lot of women think that self-care is getting your hair, getting your nails done, getting a massage. That's all fine and dandy, but for me, self-care is more about learning about who you are as a person, recognizing that you're stronger than you think you are. Self-care is about um, working through those storms and those challenges without feeling like a failure. Yeah, we're going to go through life storms, but that's what life is about, going through storms and learning how to work through those challenges. As long as you don't stay, and like my sister always say, I've been saying this since day one, just keep on pushing, because the more you fight, the more you're able to overcome that challenge. But when you quit, you will never get to see the results if you quit too early. If you quit too early, you will never get to see the results. That's just like if you are in college and you wanted to get that degree, but if you quit too soon, you will never get that degree because you quit too soon because you gave up. So in order to keep it pushing, just keep fighting. You, I've been fighting my whole life. I understood Whoopi Goldberg when she, I mean, not Whoopi, but Oprah Winfrey when she said, "I've been fighting all my life." That's exactly how I felt. I have been fighting all my life since I was a little girl. Why give up now? I can't, because I'm going to lose. And because of who God is in my life as my father, and I'm royalty, I'm a fighter. He's not going to let me quit. I have to keep fighting because there's more to come for me. I can't see God's end results if I quit. Who am I if I quit? I'm a child of the Most High King. My Father, who is strong, who is able, who can, who will, whatever He say that He will do it. So I gotta keep fighting, knowing that my Father, who said that He will provide all of my needs, who said that He will take care of me, He will supply everything that I need. He's my waymaker. He's my protector. He has
Mm-hmm.
shown me that he is my protector. So why should I be afraid? The Bible said, why should we be afraid? He's our protector. There's no need to fear. He's the only person who you should fear. Jesus Christ. Anything else, you just keep it pushing. So that's
Love
how I
that.
weather through my challenges, through my storms. God first. When you learn to put him first and invite him into the situation, that's what I had to learn too as I was growing in Christ. Learning to invite God into the situation because we tend to try to do it on our own. We will never get there if we do it on our own. We need his strength. We need his power. We need his courage. We need everything from God in order to get to where he has where he has for us to go. He is guiding us, he is leading us. He created us for purpose. We can't get to the purpose without God. We can't get there on our own. We're weak,
Mm-hmm.
we're flesh.
Yeah.
You can't get there without God. I wouldn't go nowhere without God because I need him and I want him. And because I saw him and what he was able to do for me back then, I surely know if he did it back then, I could surely only imagine whatever storms I'm going through now or facing or challenges now, he's surely going to bring me through those too. He's just not going to do it back then and not do it now.
That's right. That is so true. So true. Yeah, I was kind of thinking of the gospel song when he talks about uh, I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
Mm-hmm.
I've come too far from where I started
Where
from.
I started
Nobody told me that the road would be
from will
easy.
be easy. Yeah.
I mean that's the essence of what your story is about, and like you said, just also remembering that you don't have to do, especially in the midst of the storms, you don't have to do life by yourself. And sometimes God will let you stay in a storm for an extended period of time to get you to understand that you shouldn't be out here just trying to fly solo, doing it on your own. I mean, just when I think about your story, we're telling it, because you didn't have people around you to rely upon, you were trying to carry all of that weight all by yourself. Yeah, you were praying, but you were still trying to
Mm-hmm.
haul that load all by yourself until finally it got to a point
Mm-hmm.
where you had broken down, not to the point of being called out of the game, but broken down enough to where, okay, Lord, I hear you now. And then at that point, your ears are wide open and he's able to speak to you and say, follow this,
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, out of your obedience, you instantaneously were able to grasp who God was in the purest sense. Like, him empowering you in a way that you couldn't empower yourself. And that's what we have to understand, as human beings. Yes, God didn't make us to be weak individuals, but
Mm-hmm.
he also left a certain part of us open to where we can't just do everything on our own all the time, because then if that was the case, then what would we need him for if we could just
Exactly.
handle life all on our own?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was always that something there that he left open to say, hey, I want to step into this for you. I want be your
Mm-hmm.
like as you say, your way maker. I want to be the problem solver. I just need you to trust me. Do you trust
Mm-hmm.
me? Do
Yeah.
you believe that you can count on me, or are you still just trying to fly on your own, do your own
Yeah.
thing? And as I think about all the various storms of my own life, every time when if I find myself in a challenging situation and I've tried to do it all on my own, that's usually when it gets messed up. That's usually
Mm-hmm.
when it
That's true.
lasts longer than it needed to last.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but when I had that same situation and I immediately said, okay, Lord, help me with this. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not going to be Superman. I'm not going to, try to take it on my own. Then
Yeah.
he tells me what to do, and if I follow his lead, then it not only works out, but it ends up having an outcome that was even better than what I anticipated.
That's it
All
right
because of the trust,
there.
all
Obedience.
because of the obedience. It's
Yeah.
like, and again, doesn't mean that it's going to always be easy. It doesn't mean that you won't have some work to do in the part of the process. Not that God can't do it on his own, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not somebody that we just rub a lamp and make wishes on. It's just he does include you in part of the process. There's going to be some things that you have to do,
Yeah.
but it's all a part of you learning and
Yeah.
trusting and understanding why it's necessary to follow his lead versus just kind of again flying solo and things of that nature. And the last thing I was going to comment on is I love the fact that you pointed out, which is something that I've talked about from time to time, is about self care,
Mhm.
understanding self care at a deeper level. Like you said, the massages, the pedicures, the manicures, the getting your hair done, all that. Nothing wrong with those things. Those are
Mhm.
great self care things, but it's deeper than that. When you understand, when you're in a relationship with God, you understand that self care goes much deeper than that, and you start getting into things like you said, the relational part of it. You know, dependent upon Him. You start getting into things like truly understanding what unconditional love looks like. You start
Mhm.
understanding the importance of forgiveness. I mean, even
Yeah.
to your even to your situation, and
Yes.
you didn't directly mention it, but at some point you
Oh,
had
yeah.
to forgive even your abuser, not because you were condoning the behavior. You had to
Right.
forgive to ignite the healing
That's
on your
true.
end.
That's
Because
true.
if you were still walking around, and I could tell that you forgiven because in the sharing your story, you never at any point in time expressed bitterness or hatred towards, even
Oh, no.
though you had every right in the world to feel that way. But because you haven't done that, that's where your healing has been monumental, just because I forgive you in spite of
In
the
spite of.
hurtful things that you said and did to me. And that goes for anybody else over the course of your life that might have not been there when they should have been.
Yeah.
You that's what ignites that healing. But you look at self care again, like I do, understanding it at a much deeper level.
Mhm.
You know, the self respect, the self love, the self care,
Mhm.
in the sense of things like taking that walk,
Mhm.
clearing your head,
Mhm.
having that. You know, I have some of the best conversations with God just walking the
That's
dog,
it.
just just out there and just
Yeah.
having a conversation. People sometimes think you're crazy talking to yourself. I had some of the best conversations, between myself
And
and
God.
talking to God and
Mhm.
just air. So you have to do those kind of things, and that is an element of self care, a much needed element of it. So I'm glad you pointed that out. So anybody that's tuning in understands that self care is much. It goes far beyond just those superficial things that are good,
Right.
but it's not just.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a manicure, pedicure, back massage is not going to tell you how to deal with difficult and challenging times. You
Mm-mm.
know,
I wanna help
and
you.
no, it's not gonna help you in that regard. You might look good while
That's
you're
it.
going through, but
Yeah.
but that's not gonna help you get through
Yeah.
what that situation is. And so it's so key that that anybody that's going through keeps that keeps that part of it in mind. So I appreciate you pointing all of those things out because I think those are very valuable steps. It's especially for somebody that doesn't have a process or a routine that they are tapping into when they're going through stuff. Because there's a lot of people who don't know what to do. They just kind of let the emotions run wild and it just takes them all over the place.
Yeah.
And so this is very sound advice for anybody that doesn't have a current process, current routine. You can just tap into just what Catherine has shared to just as a starting point to build that up for yourself.
Yeah.
So good stuff. Um, so Catherine, when you think back again, all that you've gone through, the highs, the lows, everything in between, if you had the opportunity to speak to the younger Catherine, the one who, again, went through what she went through, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless, feeling all alone, or even somebody that's tuning into our show and they're feeling like similar to how you felt at that time. They're going through some stuff. Maybe it's domestic abuse, maybe it's something else. And they just don't see a way out. They don't know what to do with that. They don't know how to turn the page to get to that point where they can begin to come up out of that situation, and learn to love themselves, learn to show themselves some grace. What would your advisement be to younger Catherine or to anybody that's tuning in that's currently going through and just looking for a pathway to that healing, to that recovery, to that overcoming this challenge of storms and how to properly deal with it?
Um, that is not your fault because we take blame for everything that comes our way when we're hurting, when we're going through the storm. We take blame all the time. So I would tell anybody, don't blame yourself. It is not your fault. What they did to you is not your fault. What they said to you, it is not your fault. And don't think that you're alone because you're not alone. There's someone that's going through the same storm, just like you're going through right now. Someone the same storm. So you're not by yourself. And know that you are loved. Know that God loves you. Know that you was created for purpose. Know that you're beautiful. Know that you can. And to keep fighting. And you're not a victim, but you are victorious. This was my topic this past Sunday. Not a victim, but victorious because of who God is. And God can do all things. But you have to love yourself first before you can love anybody else. You cannot love anybody else, and that's including your children, if you don't love yourself. So, how do you expect for a person to love you if you don't love yourself? I didn't love myself. How could I? I didn't even know what love was. My mama didn't show me love. My mama didn't show me care. My mom has never said, I love you. I'm 48. And she just started telling me this last year. I love you. So love yourself first. When you love yourself first, anything else don't even matter to you anymore. I didn't love myself, but once I began to start loving who I am, nothing can phase me. Nothing can phase you. If a man leave you, it doesn't phase you because you love you and you're not going to put nobody else's needs before yours. So that's the first thing I would tell somebody is to love yourself first. That's the greatest gift you can give yourself is to love yourself. And when I mean love yourself, I'm not saying being too in love with yourself to where you're arrogant or you're selfish of that type, not that type of love yourself, but to love yourself to know your worth, to love yourself to know when to walk away from any type of relationship that brings you harm. You do not deserve to be harmed by any means necessary. And if it takes harm to love you, that's not love. If it takes that, you don't need it. It's not for you. Walk away. Love you. Forgive yourself. Don't be guilty because I was guilty and embarrassed of my past growing up. I never talked about it for a very long time because I was embarrassed to say I'm 9 years old. I'm in the streets. I don't ran away from home from my mama at 9 years old, and I'm in the streets with grown folks in dope houses. I ain't had no business out there doing those type of things. I didn't know who I was. I didn't love myself. I didn't care about Catherine. I didn't know who I was. But it was until 2013 when God released me from that relationship that I found who I was in Christ first. And then I found me because I worked on me. So, me talking to me, you're better than that. You are beautiful. You deserve more. You are powerful. Take back your power. I had to take back my power and reclaim my dignity and my confidence back that was taken from me. The enemy takes, steal, kill, and destroy, but God gives love. He don't take, God gives. So that's what I would tell any woman or any man that is going through a storm in your life. Keep fighting. It's worth it. Keep fighting. Never give up. It may look heavy in the beginning, but as long as you keep going and keep allowing God to do it for you, you will see the end results and you will see the movement. And that's what the thing that I love about God. Once you give it to God and you leave it with Him, do not pick it back up. I had to learn that myself. You can start seeing God shape and mold you through that process. At the end results, he'll replay it back to your memory of that journey that you was going through, why you was going through that storm, what he did through the midst of the storm, and the purpose of that storm in order for you to get to your purpose. That's God.
Love that. Love that. Very well said. Very well said. To my listeners, again, she's dropping some wisdom for you. Apply right now. And it begins loving yourself, knowing your
Mm-hmm.
worth, understanding your value, not seeking the approval of other people for that. Whether you get a round of applause or whether you get none at all, knowing who you are and who you belong to, that is huge. In you being able to deal with life and on all the challenges that come along with it, and how you approach it. Just knowing that value, knowing your worth, and not letting anybody have you think anything different
Mm-hmm.
than that. So again, very very well said. Well, Catherine, this has been this has been an awesome time. I have truly enjoyed talking with you this evening. What a powerful story, powerful testimony. As I said at the top of the show, I anticipated that this would happen, but I even underestimated how much I have been blessed, how my listeners have been blessed. You have truly a blessing, and I'm so grateful that you accepted the opportunity to be on the show. You've truly blessed this evening, and I definitely is beyond words can say that I appreciate you, appreciate your journey, appreciate the work that you're doing. Such a wonderful, awesome thing, and just how you're allowing God to use you in a mighty and magnificent way. This is absolutely phenomenal, and again, this is definitely a post story that needed to be heard, and I'm so thankful that you had the courage and the willingness to share it in the way that you have. So definitely appreciate that. Um, but before I let you go, as is common here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, we do want to take an opportunity on you to celebrate you, to lift you up. And so if you got anything that's going on either right now or coming up down the road, we want to know all about it, how to stay connected with you, how to support you. We want to know what's happening in the life of Catherine and the works that she's doing. So tell us what's going on and we need to be tapping into and keeping in touch with. So what we got going. I know you got something. So let's don't be holding back. Don't hold back. Let us know.
No, I'm not gonna hold back. I love to share anything. I love to share my story. I love to share, a lot. God has taught me a lot about sharing. Sharing is caring. So I have really been busy this month of October because, of course, it's domestic violence awareness. So I have been on multiple platforms this month, just back to back. And my last event, my last gala, well, my next thing coming up is October the 25th. It is our Suits and Scars Gala with the Voices of the Abuse. We are having a all male platform. This is our first annual male platform where we have a male come to the stage to share their stories. And then we have a
Mm,
fashion show. We're doing a dating for a cause type thing to raise money to go to pour back into the Voices of the Abuse. It's a nonprofit organization. So that's what we have going on in October, and then November 8th. I'm at another event on November 8th for Thanksgiving. Um, this will be in South Dallas at the Martin Luther King Center in South Dallas on November 8th, and then November the 17th. I'm in Fort Worth, so I'm there too. And I think that's where I'm at. Oh, in December, we're doing a toy drive in December, the Voices of the Abuse, because I partner with them, and I've been working with them for 2 years, 2 years, going on 2 years. And so we're doing a Toys for Tot this year. We'll be in Ferris, Texas, I believe, or Ellis County. I'm sorry, Ellis County, where we're giving away toys for uh, children that is in need of toys. So if you want to know more about that information, you can go to my social media page, CatherineBMitchell.com. That's on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I don't have a YouTube yet, but I'm working on that. Um, and I'm working on some other things. So y'all just make sure that y'all follow me so y'all can stay up to date on what I got going on. Books, all of those things. Just stay connected. I love to be in connected and connected with those that want to be in connected connection with me and support me in my journey and what I've, and what I'm doing and what I got coming up. I appreciate it.
Love it, love it. So again, to my listeners, she's giving you all the handles, her website, how to connect with her, get her books, follow her as far as events and upcoming speaking engagements and other initiatives that she's a part of. Clearly, she's got the whole spectrum before her that she's working on, and so they'll need for you to get connected, to be a part of that, or for just nothing more, just to support her in some fashion or form, even if it's just in prayers, just that she continues to have the strength and
Amen.
encouragement to do what she needs to do, walking in her purpose and being a blessing to the masses out there. So, again, thank you so much, Catherine, for your time with us, and to my audience. If you've enjoyed our podcast this evening, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. We want to encourage, we want to be uplifting, we want to take the opportunity to be transparent and vulnerable in the sharing of our stories, letting you know that you know what, we all go through a series of storms. Your storm may not be mine, might not be yours, but we all go through. But in the end, what's most important, what ultimately matters the most, is that you have a relationship with God, because no matter what you're going through, nothing is too big for Him to handle. He loves you unconditionally. He wants nothing but the best for you. And that's why we make sure that He's always included in a part of our conversations for any given evening. And so if you don't currently have a relationship with God, today would be a mighty fine day for you to make that decision.
Yes.
Not telling you something that we heard, telling you something that we know firsthand from personal experience. If you didn't know the power of God before tonight, surely Catherine's story should have been a great lead in to letting you know just how awesome and wonderful He is. And if He can do what He's done for her,
Mm,
certainly He can do the same for you as well as others in your life. So don't miss out on that opportunity. He has enough love to go around for all of us. So we want you to be a part of that, have that connection. So again, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and I thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, keep fighting that good fight. Keep leaning on God, trusting and believing, understanding that He is there for you. He has your back. He is not forsaking you. He is there all through your challenges and your storms. He just wants nothing but the best for you. Just trust in Him, lean on Him, and just allow Him to do wonderful and magnificent things in your life. He will blow your mind. And I literally mean that in the highest possible way that I can express to you. So don't miss out. Trust Him, lean on Him, embrace that relationship, and just watch Him do magnificent and marvelous things in all aspects of everything that you're a part of. So until next time, you take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you at our next broadcast. You have a great rest of your evening.